I'm really scared about the future of fashion because,
Really?
yeah, there's a documentary that I started watching the other day about Amazon and about our overconsumption. And it's actually, I had to turn it off because I felt like this really overwhelming feeling of guilt. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to watch this. I'm contributing so much. It's I used to be like when I studied fashion, I was a vegan. I was all about sustainability, but then everything was just greenwashing. And
Yeah.
there is nothing like it's not going to get better. Like Shein, Temu, everything. Like I've never shopped on Shein and Temu, but I've I buy stuff on Amazon. I try not to overconsume. I think I'm pretty good with that. I'm not a big shopper. And people will see me at conferences and they'll be like, you always wear this outfit. And I'm like, yeah, because I like it. And I'm not buying more stuff like for no reason.
Hi, outside context listeners, and welcome back. This is going to be a very special solo episode this time, which I'm personally really excited about. And for those in our friends and family circles, you've already probably heard me talking about Chipped Social so much over the past few weeks. But Jana has very kindly agreed to join me for our outside context moment. So, Jana, what was your outside context moment this week?
Well, Elise, as you know, this was a bit of a shared moment for us over the last few months, really. Um, Basically, I think, as many of our listeners who know us personally will know, Elise and I are both people with various hues of brown skin. And this is an important and relevant piece of information because shit's just got real with the AIs and the racism. Elise, would you like to tell our listeners what happened when you tried to generate some retro style images of us based on our photos for our early attempts at some OC branding materials?
Yeah. So this is a few months back, and I appreciate that AI is evolving rapidly. However, I thought, as some of you know, the outside context logo is very sort of retro futuristic, is what we were going for with it. And so I thought, wouldn't it be so fun to have retro futuristic images of Jana and myself for our website and for other branding? And we thought, oh, if this works well, we can do it for the guests too. Um, that didn't quite turn out the way that we had hoped. While it is possible to generate some version of a retrofuturistic image, pretty much every single one that it made of us made us extremely white, and in some cases, for those who also know Jana and I, blonde, which neither of us are blonde, and certainly not a platinum blonde in any sense of the word. So we were a bit perplexed by this. I went down a very deep rabbit hole,
Particularly,
as did you.
particularly since we fed it pictures of ourselves.
Yes, these weren't just generated. I was like, here's a picture of us. Can you do X, Y, Z? And Jana, maybe you want to, we did then feed it some data about our heritage and, our racial composition. Would you like to explain what happened to you when I did that?
We fed it some data about our kind of ethnic composition and things like that. And mine, I'm of Indian heritage. I We asked it to then take those factors into account. It basically slapped a sari and a dot on my forehead on me and presented that proudly back as being more culturally representative of me. Which, I mean, yes, and also no, no.
No, no.
We just wanted the brown skin. But anyway,
Correct. And again, and I am a Native American and African American, but also just very generally mixed race. But again, when I fed that back as well, we got similar, quite extreme, just papering over of the image they did before, either one way or another. Yeah. So we were not very impressed. This then kind of escalated. We tried to use this for a kind of fun feature. Again, I don't know, some of you have probably seen, you can now kind of create anime-esque images of real life photos, which is very, very fun. Um, Tried to do that again, had a similar result. And Jana, would you like to explain what happened when that then tried to be corrected? Not just by us, this was happening to other people too.
yes, and I think it wasn't in just this context. It was also in the context of I've been teaching my son how to use ChatGPT, and he was trying to get it to generate some. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to mention ChatGPT. Can we delete that?
Pause.
Okay, pause. So I should add as well, this wasn't just in the context of, using certain filters. It was also I was trying to teach my son how to use AIs, trying to get him acquainted with them, and he was asking an AI to create a picture of him as a superhero, and we'd already fed in a little bit of data about him and what he looks like, and kept getting pictures of him as well as basically a white superhero. And when we tried to correct it, as I think you've had this experience with the cartoon filters, basically it told us that this was not in line with its content policies, and that it couldn't include any racial or data about skin tone in the generation of pictures. So we're now in a position where it is okay, it's generally okay for the AIs to turn us into white people, but not okay for us to challenge that, which is, it's a struggle for me to deal with this, and this isn't something that this isn't something new. It's been happening for months. It'd be great to hear from our listeners if they'd had the same challenges. It's just escalating a level, and I'm not really sure how to handle this at the moment. But it is a neat crystallization of all of the risks that people have been raising about AIs, their training data, and bias and things like that, in real form and in a way that is impacting us at the moment.
Yeah. So please do let us know if you've had a similar experience, or people that actually work on AI would love to know as well if you guys have any ideas of how to fix this.
But can it please be okay for us to be brown for an AI?
Please. Please.
On that note, so Elise, over to you. What is your actual outside context moment for this week?
So I did actually have another one, which is I have been watching Severance, as I'm sure many other people have. And what I wanted to note about this show is that, again, and sorry for going, psychological with the listeners again this week, but I think it exhibits a really interesting phenomenon, again, for humans, is that what is scary to some people and what is scary to some groups of people is extremely subjective, and it is really, really difficult to see kind of how that will manifest. And certain things can actually be a really interesting, like, litmus test. I don't know what the litmus test is of, but of how various people react psychologically to certain things. So I have some friends who are like, I cannot watch Severance. It is absolutely too dark. I find it really, really scary, and it like kept me up at night. Like that kind of scary. Me personally, I didn't find it scary at all. I mean, some aspects of it may be a little more annoying than others, or funny, whatever, or some episodes drag, some are really good, but generally I enjoyed it, but I definitely didn't find it scary. I personally find things super, super scary, which are like horror, especially of the kind of like demonic possession, etc. nature. I find that really scary, cannot watch it. I have the same friends who might find Severance really scary, who don't find that terrifying at all. And I just think that that's a really interesting phenomenon. I don't know, Jana, if you've had kind of similar experiences with various like shows, books, etc. But I think the nature of like human fear and how we react to certain things within our culture is fascinating.
I do as well. I mean, my take on Severance is different. I think uniquely, I don't come out on either of those sides of the fence. I just find it annoying and don't want to watch it. But that aside, no, there are definitely some cultural phenomena that are like litmus tests for, again, things we don't fully understand, like the Marmite, the arbiter of taste, or things like that. And it's interesting what different types of people gravitate towards. I guess, if we look at conspiracy theories and the types of conspiracy theories that exist, certain types of people or certain personalities are more likely to gravitate towards certain types of conspiracy theory than others. Possibly, something for a future show, but that how things neatly divide people in their opinions and their experiences of them is a really interesting topic, and probably something we should collectively be becoming more aware of at this point in time when so many things divide us.
Definitely. And also, not only on the topic of so many things dividing us, but I know I mentioned in a different outside context moment, the book I was reading on scarcity brain, and also, again, super relevant when you consider how much information we're being fed and how often algorithms are working on and influencing us. I think we need to be even more aware of it because we're probably likely to be more susceptible, more convinced by things, more drawn into those kind of various camps. So, something I would definitely like to explore in a future episode. But now, let's go to my discussion with Winnie. Winnie, welcome to the Outside Context. We are so excited to have you, and I know our listeners cannot see this, but I'm actually wearing your product right now, my nails from Chipped Social, which I'm absolutely obsessed with. But before we get into the whole story of Chipped, can you please tell us a bit more about your story and your journey from fashion to the tech world? How did you get here?
God, it goes back to probably about me being around 9 years old, honestly.
Oh my God.
Like, my gran was a seamstress, and from a really young age, I was just obsessed with fashion. Like, I was a little diva as a child, and God, I really need to go back home and dig out some of the old photos. But real diva, gran taught me to sew at like age 9, and I went on to study. There's like every time I think about this backstory, there's more nuances to it. I
Oh, we
remember
want all the nuances.
I remember this the other day when I was changing schools. So I went to like a different school for my last 2 years of like for sixth form in the
Yep.
UK. And 'cause I really didn't like my previous school. And I was talking to the head of year when I was like trying to settle in. He's like, "What do you want to do?" I was like, "I want to work in fashion." And he just goes, "Come on, Leah, let's be realistic." And I'm like, "That is realistic." And he's like, "No, you're going to be studying economics, maths, further maths. You can have one art thing for fun, maybe psychology." And I was like, "Sick, cool. I'll do all of those things." Didn't end up doing further maths, ended up never turning up to my maths lessons and just spending all of my time in the art room. And then I went on to study fashion design and I hated it. Like, studying it was just the most. I was like, surely the industry is not like this. Like, surely this is.
It's not all Devil Wears Prada. Like,
No, no, the degree was just awful. It was like just mean. But then I went and I did an internship. I dropped out of uni after second year and I moved to New York for 6 months. When I was living on $50 a week. Like, I was broke.
oh my God.
Like, I, it was, I don't know how I managed that, but I went and I did what I,
Especially in New York. That's tough in New York.
yeah, I was, yeah, it wasn't great. And I didn't know how I did it. But this was also like 8 years ago. But I also realized I really hated working in the industry because it was like rich Nepo babies. I was none of the above. And this was when I got into crypto. So I met like a bunch, I had like a friend group there and they were all like yeshiva and they were all like interested in crypto and mining. And that's kind of what got me interested in it in the first place. And I was like, oh, this is kind of interesting. And the more I fell out of love with fashion, I fell like, oh, there's this whole world that I don't know about. So I went back home. I worked in like finance for like 6 months while I decided what to do with my life. Decided to go back to uni to finish my undergrad degree in fashion and wrote my undergrad thesis in 2019 on the relationship of fashion and blockchain. And then my professor again was like, this is really stupid. And I was like, why does everyone keep telling me? And also, every time someone tells me to not do something, I want to do it even more. I'm a middle child. Like, that's like my intuition.
I'm an only child, so kind of same but different.
Yeah, we very much aligned. So I went to study a master's degree. I was doing business with computer science and just thought I'm going to go build these things myself. So this was up to like, this was 5 years ago now. Jesus Christ. Went down the whole crypto NFT rabbit hole, was in that side of crypto Twitter for a while, just started tweeting, built an agency in 2021, left that because it was like very, like they're doing amazing. I love the guys so much still. They wanted to go down a different route. I wanted to like explore consumer and see, I was like, there's a real big opportunity for this. And I was going to a lot of conferences. I was putting the NFC chip in my nail as like my acrylics, doing them myself. And my girlfriends were like, I need this. And I was like, cool, I need to go figure out how to build it.
So you
And
started it out as just for you. Did you
yeah,
think that that was going to be your product, or were you kind of market testing it, or did you, at first, were you just like, honestly, this would just be so convenient? Because I think for the listeners who can't see my nails, the whole idea behind it is there's literally a chip in your nail, you tap it, and that's how you share socials instead of like QR codes or getting your phone out or sending your number, which you might not want to do, and it's very clunky and awkward. So did you think it was going to be for everyone, or was it just for you originally?
it was just for me originally. And then I was like, oh, I love, I'm very much an ideas guy. I love like these, just coming up with ideas and testing them. And I really wanted to, originally, I wanted to start like a mischief style house for like Web3
Ooh.
products. So doing like ephemeral drops of things. So I was thinking about doing chipped as like an ephemeral drop. Just like, I tested it in, DevCon 2023. Like I did a test of it and everyone was like, wait, this is so fun. I love it. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to see how far I can take this. And the more I started to just play with it, the more it got people excited and more like a community built around it. And I was like, wait, this is like a product that people want. So about a year ago, I got VC funding for it. Thank you, Seed Club. You have been amazing. Got and just kind of we've been running with it for the past year. It's about a year since I formed my team as well. So yeah, we're getting there. It's slowly but surely.
That it honestly is so exciting, but also the multiple points from even like a very young age through sixth form through university where I hate the idea when people are like, yeah, the art side of things, that's just for fun.
Mm.
Or there's no business case for this, or there's no use case for this. And obviously, clearly there was, like you had a product that was just for you that's now had incredible demand that's been used by multiple celebrities, Paris Hilton, Kris Jenner, like all of these people have seen the need and the value in these products. And I love the idea of that kind of intersection between art, tech, finance, fashion. Like these don't have to be separate worlds, which again, I think is one of those kind of core drivers of Web3 as well. And like, I also, our listeners, some of them will probably already know this, but like, I don't have a finance background either. I actually, my friends really love to remind me I grew up on a farm. I used to literally always say to everyone in university that I would never work in finance. There were so many of my friends who were studying finance, and I was doing like political science, French, and history. And I was like,
Amazing.
I'll never work in finance. Here I am doing finance policy for like many years. But I think that part of that maybe like turn off is again because there's always those people saying like, oh, you can't do this art or this aspect of history or like bring that into like the world of finance and tech. Like this is all very serious. And so I guess another question for you then is like, how do you kind of see this intersection and see it evolving in the Web3 world? And like, what more can we do to stimulate that and make sure that people aren't being like told no, but they're actually going out and doing these things?
Yeah, I find like the finance intersection really interesting because like I had the same thing. I'm from Guernsey, which is tax haven, and that's why I worked in like finance for a little bit. And like I always said, I'm never ever going to work in finance. I did 6 months and then I left. But I think it is like I didn't grow up with like financial literacy. Like I didn't grow up in one of those families that really talked about money or taught money. So having that job was actually really, really important for me to kind of understand everything. But I think especially when you think about self custody and crypto and that finance intersection, people are scared of it. People don't understand
Mm,
it and everything is a scam. I think it's really important to create products that are like products into these industries that aren't like hyper financialized. That isn't like
yeah.
if you lose your login, you've lost all your money, or like
If you lose
it's
your chipped nail, nothing bad happens to
nothing
you.
bad
Like it's
happens.
going to be okay. Like people might be able to find your chipped profile, but that's only the information that you would want to share.
Yeah, 100%. And then it's all on our app, but it's all like, hey, this is blockchain. This is your profile is created on blockchain. You're not dead. Has it killed you? No. Like it's not scary. And it's like just creating these products that are entry level products and that kind of lead with fun education, even though it's like not so much an educational tool. But it's how do we get these people comfortable with the inevitable? And that's just kind of how I see us right now.
So And actually, I want to come back to that quickly because for our tech and finance listeners, can you explain? I've done a little bit, but can you explain very in basic terms how the nails work? Like, what do they do? What's the blockchain? Tell us the situation.
So, chipped is essentially an NFC chip in a press-on nail. You tap that to someone's phone, and it shows your social media. It's all EVM compatible. So when you create an account, it's with Privy, which is, I can never remember exactly how to describe Privy, but your account, your profile is essentially a wallet. So that, all of those interactions that you create, everything is owned by you. We don't sell the data. We don't own the data. It's owned by you because it's on your own wallet. And like leading with that kind of privacy first initiative, it can lead us quite well into like if we want to do peer-to-peer payments, we can do all of that. But we're just kind of like laying the foundations. It's like originally it was going to be these are your social graphs, these are your connections that you own. This is what it means to own your IRL data. And another way that we're kind of looking at it is when it comes to airdrops, like we have never said that we're doing a token. I think it's really important to kind of lay the community foundations of everything before like here's a token and then our product just gets bought by men in the industry who are trying to follow airdrops. Like that's not my goal.
No.
But it's like we've created a network of genuine human beings that we can prove. It's proof of IRLs, pearls. So it's just kind of showing that you can create these systems that are fun to use and get the girlies on chain in a way that's not like scammy.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that is so cool. And as well, one of the most talked about topics, as I'm sure you know, anytime you go to conferences and stuff, is like mass adoption. How do we get more people on chain? To exactly your point, it does not need to be complicated. And it also doesn't need to be selling people a financial product to prepare them for a Web3 future where they're going to be in control of their data, in control of their social connections. This is something that we've talked about a lot on the outside context, is like a future world where people are going to need to care about controlling their data and like how they interact in a Web3 world. So I love that idea. And again, you have touched on, not having it completely be bought up by men. Why, and I think you and I will be aligned on this, but I want to unpick it more for our listeners. Why is girl tech so important for the future of tech in general, in your opinion?
Gosh, for me, there are so many angles that I could come up from this. Like, I'm a middle child with two brothers in a military family who grew up as an athlete. And then I went and studied computer science, business, went into crypto, was in finance. Every environment that I've been in my entire life has been incredibly masculine. And there has just been, and when I got into crypto, there were like no real female role models. Like there were some, but there were very few. And like I think it's important that we show young women that you can be feminine in your industry, be taken seriously, build cool things, and not have to like. I regressed deeply into like being a crypto bro, and just it was really bad, and it was not myself, and I was really sad and like not. And yeah, I think it's incredibly important to embrace your femininity in masculine environments, but also because like when you think about consumers and when we think about crypto consumer is still just crypto. It's not consumer at all. It's still catering to degens and men and racist shitcoins, and like there's very little of it that genuinely appeals to women who are responsible for like 85% of consumer spending or something ridiculous. They control all of consumer spending in households, and that is where we're going to see adoption. It's like if you can make a product that gets like 16-year-old girls excited to buy it and use it, that's adoption. Like that is where we see purchasing power. That's where we see influence. That's where we see user-generated content. That is where we see just these nodes of young women buying product because they're excited about it. And tech is going in that direction. And I also think it's important to have it built by women for women, because then we know that like we have a better chance, I feel, of that data being in the right hands. Like when I think about this, I think about like period tracker products where you have Flow, which is built by two Russian men, or you have Avia.
Does not make me feel comfortable.
Exactly. Or you have, and it's like texting like Flow, or like I think it's Flow that will send messages to your partner being like, your wife just logged that she's in the mood, time to get frisky. Like it's a
No.
no, no. I don't
I
want that.
have never used that. I did not know that. That massively freaks me out.
Horrid. And like I love Avia because it's built by women. It's a female product, and like that's less scary to me because I'm not saying women, like obviously there's bad female actors, of course, but I just feel that little bit more comfortable with it.
And that's such an interesting point because I actually went to an event last week where some women were talking about this exact topic. And they said, so this was at a fintech event and they were like neobanks. And I think it was Zopa and like Starling were on the panel. They were talking about how there was this issue that had come through with faster payments in the UK, where I'm sure you know, like if you send money, because most people in the UK, for our US listeners, they don't really use like Venmo and stuff, you just do bank transfers, like bank to bank transfer, and you can put a payment reference. Now, these bank to bank transfers can be really small. They could be like 1 pence or 1 penny. People were using that basically when they had all other methods of communication cut off to harass people and in like domestic abuse situations. And women were coming to these banks and they were saying, what can you do? Please help me. Like, I'm being harassed literally by the message that is attached to the faster payment. They were like, okay, what can we do about this? Because again, they were trying to have that agility as like newer fintechs in the space, but also businesses that were very intentional about having like a high women staff in their teams. They worked with a not-for-profit and they came up with a way that you can actually hide the message for certain people when it's incoming payments, and as a way for like women to protect themselves. And I was like, what a cool reason. And like it highlights exactly why it's so important, as you say, to have diverse teams working in tech who care about these issues and want to solve them.
Anne Boden is definitely a role model, the founder of Starling Bank. Like, I remember when I was doing my master's, she came and did a talk at my accelerator. And that when you said Starling Bank, and I'm like, of course, like it's a woman running that shit. So, yeah, I love that because it is crazy. That's very crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't believe it. I was like, I didn't even know that was a thing, but I'm so glad that people are working to solve it. And like, shout out to any of the traditional banks that might be listening. You guys should implement that too. That's important.
Yeah.
But I want to shift gears a little bit because we love to talk about the future on this podcast as well. How do you view, as someone who is in the tech space, how do you view technology as changing civilization either for good or for bad? And how can we responsibly influence that future?
God, I don't want to say I'm a doomsdayer, but like
I mean, I read a lot of apocalyptic sci-fi, so it is okay.
I'm an ancient civilizations kind of gal. I love learning about like the ancient apocalypses and the previous wipeouts of humanity. Um, I love where technology is going. I think there is so much good that can be done with AI. But again, it's all bad actors. It's like the thing is for me when it comes to like fashion technology and the use of AI in that, and like I believe in privacy. I believe in like not having I don't believe in having a surveillance state. And then every 23-year-old dropout out of SF is building little privacy necklaces and calling it wearable tech. And I'm like, I don't want that thing fucking recording me in this conversation. Like, I physically don't consent to that. And it's just like, oh, but it's the future. I'm like, no, it's not. Like, I have like the Ray-Ban Meta glasses. They're great. They're too heavy on my ears. They give me a headache. It's like, but then they let you know when they're filming, or if I filmed people, I would ask them. I just think, again, this comes back to like, it's just, I could go on actually, and it's not a good look for me to have some of the views that I do have. But I think that like I believe in like wearable accelerationism. I know that like I'm a big wearables girl. I've just taken off. I've got like my Kudus ring. I've got my.
I'm too. I've got my Oura ring. I have my watch. Like, yeah, same.
Everything. I love it, and I think like we're even I have like my little. We're trying some like chipped. Right. Oh, that's got. I spilt my Celsius this morning.
Oh no.
I'm like, I'm one of those like. My bedside table's a mess. Like, pink rings for chipped, kind of vibes, and I believe that like that's the where wearable tech is going, 100%. It's just who's building it, and that's why I want to be in it and be leading this conversation because I think it's important to have women do that.
And so, in a way, one of the ways we can responsibly influence the future world is making sure that we have diverse voices contributing to that future and building for that future as well. Which, again, we had another, we were talking to an astronaut the other day, and he said, you know, one of the biggest things that people need to do is like think about how they can inspire the next generation and like inspire them to get into STEM. And what that part of that can be, again, through fashion, through art, that can inspire those 16-year-old girls. They're like, whoa, I loved it. It was so cool. Maybe I want to get into something like this.
Wait, was it you who recommended me the book Off Earth?
Yes.
Yes, I got it.
Yay. Okay, we'll have to discuss that as well.
I haven't
Erica's
started reading it yet.
amazing.
I'm finishing my book at the moment called Overruled, which is about how there's too many laws in America and it's killing society, and it's really interesting.
That sounds very cool. I just finished, and again, I want to come back to this, but I just finished over the weekend. I read The Last Murder at the End of the World, which is it is kind of a doomsday book, but it's also about future of civilization and how we build a more ethical civilization as well. Very good. Also kind of a murder mystery, and I really don't read a lot of murder mystery these days, but it was very, very good. But you mentioned that you love the Starling founder. Who are some of the other biggest influences on you, but not necessarily in finance? Could be tech, fashion, meeting of the two.
Oh my God, who do I?
Or favorite authors as well. That works too.
Why has my mind just gone blank? Um, I think, and it's his birthday today. Alexander McQueen was always one of my original inspirations in fashion. Like I remember my first trip I ever did by myself was to London, and I went because I wanted to go see the exhibition that was going on at the V&A for Alexander McQueen. And I just remember sitting in the cabinet of curiosities, and I was just crying, and I don't know why, but I was just like, because I was about to go, I was 17, just about to go to start uni, and I was just like, damn, this is amazing that this person just took fashion and just did whatever he wanted with it. Like God, I wish I was at the show, where he did the spray painting of the dress, and it was just the first time where I saw technology and fashion interwoven in such a cinematic way. And I think that's probably he's probably one of the core reasons of why I am where I am today.
Oh, I love that so much. I honestly, I do. One of the weirdly, and I know you and I've talked about this before, that you lived in Paris, as have I. I think when I moved to Paris and moved abroad to Paris, that was like one of my first ever like genuinely solo trips. And I
Yeah.
used to spend so much time on my own in the Rodin Museum. I loved it there so much. And I would literally go there and do my homework because when you're a student, you can go for free, which was amazing. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, again, literally nothing to do with my day job, but very much a commentary on civilization, like the way he sculpted, and I always loved that so much.
I love that.
Okay, a couple more questions before we close out. You mentioned Alexander McQueen is kind of changing and setting the tone in fashion. What do you think the far, far future is going to look like for both tech and fashion? Tech, maybe a little apocalyptic, so maybe fashion is more fun. Like, where are we going in terms of fashion? What are some of the key trends that you're following at the moment?
Honestly, I can't wait. I'm really scared about the future of fashion because,
Really?
yeah, there's a documentary that I started watching the other day about Amazon and about our overconsumption. And it's actually, I had to turn it off because I felt like this really overwhelming feeling of guilt. I was like, oh my God, I don't want to watch this. I'm contributing so much. Like, I used to be like when I studied fashion, I was a vegan, I was all about sustainability, but then everything was just greenwashing. And
Yeah.
there is nothing, like, it's not going to get better. Like Shein, Temu, everything. Like I've never shopped on Shein and Temu, but I've like, I buy stuff on Amazon. I try not to overconsume. I think I'm pretty good with that. I'm not a big shopper. And people will see me at conferences and they'll be like, you always wear this outfit. And I'm like, yeah, because I like it. And I'm not buying more stuff like for no reason. But yeah, I don't know. And I wish I could imagine it. But I think there's a bit of fear in me that's stopping me from imagining where we're going because it's not good. Like I wish I could
Well,
be
and
like, oh, it's gonna be amazing, and
And I will say this episode is going to follow an episode, if people are listening in order, where we actually talk about alternative systems of government and alternatives to the kind of capitalist state that we currently live in, which encourages overconsumption, which is obviously a very big topic for another day. But something has been raised that I thought was really interesting, which is that if we have like a multi-planetary future,
mm-hmm.
that capitalism and consumerism and overconsumption, especially in the early years, won't be able to function the same way on other planets
Yeah.
because we won't have the same access initially. It like will look very, very different. And I thought that was really interesting. And I guess I wonder because even if that is the case, like people will and always have done throughout civilization and throughout history, found ways to express themselves and have found fashion in some sense of the word. And so I wonder what that will look like in a different future. But maybe it won't be one of overconsumption. Like maybe there's hope for that after all, because we won't necessarily have the access and people will be forced to think about resource consumption in a different way.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
If there's definitely a potential for it. Any last thoughts and words that you want to leave with the listeners? Anything you want to tell them about Chipped? What's coming for Chipped in the future? Any other things people should be looking out for?
I don't think there's anything I can say just yet. We have some exciting things.
Watch this space. Watch this space.
Yeah.
Well, for the listeners, Winnie and Leah's very kindly given us a discount code. So you can use the OC if you would like to get a discount on your Chipped Social nails or merch. I'm wearing my shirt, by the way. I don't think you can see it, but I got I got the pink tank top as well, which is very comfy.
I'm wearing my daddy's little meatball t-shirt.
Also excellent. I think Chipped should also make those. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This has been so much fun, and I hope to see you IRL soon.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to see you soon.
Bye.